All right, great to see you, and thanks, Tolemykus. We might as well start off again, right with your quote right off the bat. And it's a topic. Oh gosh, I can't wait to like really sink my teeth into it at some point in time. Remember, it was brought up in the symposium there earlier on there in the fall there with World War I Museum and Memorial. Anyways, neutrality is not silence. It is a call to reason in the midst of madness. Max Deichweiler, a Swiss pacifist during World War I. I have no idea who that person is. Thanks, but I'm obviously going to go and look him up. Hopefully, go and look him up at some point in time. I say this a zillion times and usually don't do it. Great to see you as per usual, Charles Latora. Awesome. Great to see you, Hissy Cat. Good to see you, Tolemykus, Harro Bosma, and Harro Bosma says, right on over here. Might not be so responsive. He's swimming with his nieces, 4 and 10-year-olds, having a break now. Wicked, great to see you. Oh, awesome. As well to see you, Brian R. Smith. Interested how Tolemykus's World War I quotes have so much application to today's current events, which I have no idea about. So it's neat that you guys know the things that I don't have a clue about. Yeah, so let's get straight off into what we should be getting into. So boink, there we go. I'm going to zip quickly. I was mentioning this is Zoe Dufour earlier in the week. By Monday afternoon, and I'm not even including Tolemykus's logic puzzles or William Arends's ATAs. By Monday afternoon, I already had over an hour's worth of material. I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting crazy. Great to see you, KilroyWasHere. Hope you're doing well as Meandering Mike. Hope you're doing well. Anyway, so what I thought was we're going to go super damn quick. As per usual, every week I say this, there's no way in hell we're going to get all this done in an hour. But I'd like to show you what I would like to kind of do in an hour. But I was thinking about this earlier in the week, actually earlier this morning, was the fact that I do bang on about the fact that, oh, yes, this is it's a group effort here, this show now. And then I'm more or less, I'm no longer the main contributor. I'm just the host, which is freaking awesome. Is that I have to ensure that the actual community contributions do get put in the queue. Like none of this, oh, by the way, at the very end, William Arends, you get your ATA in. It's like, no. I make sure he gets his ATA in, for God's sakes, is what I'm trying to say. That's where we go. Likely better for your overall mental health to keep away from current events. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Anyways, let's go on. 89 days to Can Games. Like I said, it is on. I did notice it's weird this year yet again. I mean, it's volunteer run, so it's like I shouldn't complain. I mean, it's running, for goodness sakes. Is that I am actually going to be playing the SBI's World War I, 1914, 1918. So that's I'm pretty excited. I'm going to, just obviously play it a few more times and hopefully get people's feedback and make sure I've got, things ready, and away we go. I'm also, as per usual, I do every year, the pocket battles there on Friday afternoon. But anyways, please let me know what you guys been up to. Of course, welcome everybody. There you are. Oh, DJ Flippy, my gosh, haven't seen you in a while since actually the last time I did the live thing. I hope you're doing well. Great to see you. William Arends, I will be sending an ATA in a few minutes. As per usual, like you're almost like I said, like some kind of Hollywood reporter from some black and white film where you're just like, the very end, the presses are already running. And it's like, by the way, here's the article. I'm not complaining, like I just said. I love you to bits. So here's some, just like I said, we're going to go super quick here. And some of the things I am going to go zonk in on kind of thing. But Brian R. Smith, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but I found this out this week or last week when I was watching Callendale's, some of this playthrough of the Hollandspiele game, which I have upstairs. Remember the supply lines of the Northern Theater, American Revolution supply lines of the Northern Theater, 1775 to 1777. Anyways, he mentioned that Montreal was captured by the Americans in 1775. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Yeah, he's right. So I looked it up later. I had no clue. So that was an eye-opener for me as well. Floyd Gibbons, Chicago Tribune reporter, in his uncensored article about the Battle of Belleau Wood. I don't know if that's how you spell Belleau Wood. This is based on a lecture that I saw last week. Also with George Hamilton with Hill 142. I don't know, Meandering Mike, that's a bit about for you. I don't know if that's that dude that you were talking about, the Lost Division or whatever the heck they're called. That one of your favorite films and all that stuff. I don't know if that's him, but anyways, Floyd Gibbons, Chicago Tribune, reported in his uncensored article about the Battle of Bellewood. That article, supposedly, if we'll ever get to it, I'm just, like I said, I'm going to zip by it super quick. His uncensored article supposedly caused a rift between the Marines and the Army proper, which seems to have continued on to this day or something. And that was brought up in one of the lectures that I saw last week. I was like, whoa, I wanted to bring it up with you guys. Guidocourt served as the training area for all American troops in Europe, which I thought, and it's way up in northern France. I was surprised where it was. One of the downloads for SPI's The Great War in the East for World War I battles, which I wanted to do this week for the BGG Game of the Week. And we're going to talk about this, I hope, quite a bit, because I was rather surprised. Oh, thank you, Meandering Mike. There we go. Thank you. Anyways, looking it up and went off to the SPI War Game Resources site, which, as a lot of you guys know, is a freaking amazing place to go. Meandering Mike was mentioning to me, well, you go take a look again and see if you can find a map for SPI's World War I, 1914, 1918. I couldn't find one there, but I did find super high-res maps for this. And you can make the whole freaking game if you wanted to of this one. On a side note, I was rather surprised the lack of videos for this due to the fact it seems to be a very popular game. Well, anyways, we got this up. Why is this game in the BGG Game of the Week? Well, we're going to see in a bit. But you can see here, though, which I thought was kind of neat, another weird connection. So I brought down, start reading up the historical background booklet, which you can also download. And it's written by Richard Spence, for goodness sakes. Spence and Gable, and as we know, the Tannenberg game and so on and so forth. I thought that was kind of neat. So a lecture this week that I did get to see, which was, I've been waiting for this one for a while. I was not disappointed, which was the Western Front Association's lecture on the Great War, and she changed the title. Now it was Sub-Saharan Waters in Africa by Dr. Ann Sampson, and her take on the book and the movie The African Queen. Let's go to that super quick. I think I've already got it lined up, which you guys probably know a lot more than I do about this, but she said that based on her research, so you guys, here, I'm going to pop this here. So you guys probably know that or know about, I guess it's based on a book, the movie The African Queen and whatnot. And she was saying that, you know, everybody says that it's got, you know, to do about the Battle of Lake Tanganyika in German East Africa. But in reality, if you take a look actually at the specifics of the book and the movie, it's got far more to do with the HMS Dwarf. And the which we took a look at oh my gosh, maybe about a year and a half ago or whatever, but it's about the Cameroon campaigns and whatnot. So I thought that was kind of neat that was brought up. So obviously wanted to show that to you guys. And I'm going to see if I can it's weird, that it won't let me go back to that other one, you little brat. But anyways, hold on, like as in like it'll keep my video in to add to stage, but when I go to do something else, it won't let me. I'll have to figure it out eventually. But anyways, and we still got all right. Like I said, you William Arends, please let me know when you tell when the ATA pops in, so I can go and grab it. So anyways, also from that lecture, that a trick used to get around the illegality of poisoning wells. Was the British did anyways, they placed animal carcasses near the wells to not actually poison them, but to make it look like the wells were poisoned, and hopefully that would get the Germans and whatnot not to use them. The correspondence between Admiral Jackie Fisher and Admiral Alfred von Tirpitz. Holy smokes, talk about juicy material there, man. My jaw dropped when I was reading some of this stuff this week, and I want to share it with you. I was like, what? It's just freaking awesome. I also, this week's video, I did get, it's got Admiral von Tirpitz in it. And what I found awesome, neat is it's so different. You'll see him. He's so completely different looking. He's an old man. It's not the one he's like that nice stern picture you see with that crazy beard. You know, in Wikipedia pictures and whatnot. The steamship City of Winchester was actually the first merchant ship lost by Great Britain. Yet again, I think probably a lot of people know, is that the Great War in Africa, or essentially the Great War anywhere other than Europe, doesn't get a heck of a lot of attention. And yet again, there's a lot of firsts that happen outside of Europe, and people think, oh, this is the first time it happened. No, it didn't. But anyways, the first steamship, City of Winchester, was the first merchant ship lost by Great Britain. The first naval battle of the Great War was the Battle of Lake Nyasa. She was like, if you want to call it that, but she was like, technically it was. So there you go. During the Cameroon campaign, the Germans made and tried to use homemade torpedoes. So she had a little talk about that as well. I don't know if that'll ever be. I'm assuming it's going to be eventually released on YouTube. Well, I hope so. I will say this on a side note. It was kind of neat at the end of the lecture. This is where I'm finding I'm like, hey, I'm getting there. There was no questions at the end, and there's like over 100 viewers or whatever. I was like, this is impossible. And she was like, wow, I must have done a really good job. So I threw out a question that I knew it was like, I kind of knew the answer anyways, but I was like, I knew it was going to be a something provoker. And after that, all kinds of questions popped out. The guy said, oh, that must have been like the genie in the bottle or whatever, kind of let it out. So I was like, oh, it was nice that happened. And I felt I didn't feel awkward about posting the question. It was nice. Anyways, this I found also this week as well in the articles that blew me away was, I don't know anything about it. Hopefully somebody will know. Is I tried looking up the Great War Antarctica. It was a complete, you little brat. Well done, Tolemykus. No, the only thing you're going to find, remember, is about Shackleton and whatnot. There was a naval, so Hindenburg was ill in February 1917. I got to look this up. I'm like, what? I didn't know anything about this. And this knocked me sideways as well. And I'm wondering if anybody's gamed it or if it's true or not. I don't know. There was a naval battle, because just one passage that I saw was there was a naval battle off of Fernando de Noronha, I think, and it should be an island off the coast of Brazil in early 1917. The licorice factory of Kut. I keep hearing about this when I'm reading the war summary and the articles. I'm like, what in the world? I've got to find out where the heck this licorice factory is in Kut. They keep mentioning it like the British took the licorice factory. What the hell? I just think it's so cool to hear about these things. That's why we've got the Great War in the East for World War I battles, because Paul Hederer mentioned in BGG that he was playing the Brusilov offensive. And afterwards I went, well, let's put it in for the BGG game of the week. And then afterwards, I was like, let's eventually, this is way off in Wonderland as per usual. Oh my gosh, I'm not looking at the whatever's here. Great to see you. Wardrobe plays World War II. Hope you're doing super great. As per Gamers with Coffee Ashley, hope you're doing well. I missed you last week by like a freaking hour. I fell asleep, man, and I got up. I was like, oh, damn it. Anyway, so hopefully tomorrow I will not be. So I wanted, like I said, this is going to be way off into Wonderland. I'd like to compare the Brusilov offensive scenario from the Great War in the East. And yet again, I'm shocked that there doesn't seem to be any videos of this game, yet it's rather expensive to purchase used and whatnot. And it's part of that quadrilateral or whatever the hell they call it, the fifth part of the fifth wheel thing of the Tannenberg is of that thing. But I'm just shocked that there's not enough stuff on this. Anyways, I would like to compare that with the Brusilov offensive of Over the Top by Decision Games. There seems to be a little bit of connections that way. Here's and I've actually got two engagement questions of the week because one of them's from a commenter on one of my videos earlier in the week. I was like, I'm popping this puppy in. The first one, though, is did Germany, and this is a monster research lead, but it's really been, I guess, what do you call a little flashlight on the wall there. It's been really getting me to go. Is did Germany and the Central Powers? I'm sorry, pardon the pun, but did Germany and the Central Powers miss the boat when they called off unrestricted submarine warfare shortly after the sinking of the Lusitania? And I'm going to throw these things out just for to let you go here. Now let's think about this. This is early 1915 that Lusitania sank, and the Kaiser kind of blinked, I would say, and called off unrestricted submarine warfare. Now, it was hurting the Brits. The Brits are nowhere near getting prepared. Remember, this is early 1915. Everybody's starting to get ramped up, still getting ramped up. The Germans are in great shape. They've got tons of resources. The blockade hasn't started to bite yet. The Brits have not really started to get everything going. They've even, remember, they lessened off early on because a lot of the business lobbyists and the Americans were like, you can't do this, man. We're losing too much money. The Americans are nowhere near. They're dealing with the freaking the Mexican uprising there with Pancho Villa and all that and whatnot. They've got their eyes on other things right now. What I'm trying to say is I personally think I'm super naive still, but I personally think that which now I now sound like I'm pro Tirpitz, is they should have put their foot to the metal and went mental with unrestricted submarine warfare. I know they don't have hardly any submarines built at that time, but they should have went berserk. I would have said, screw you, we're going berserk, and we'll take a chance with the Americans going to war against us in 1915. I'd give it a shot. Anyways, and the second engagement question is from Francisco E4D. Does it matter in a war game that the hexagons are aligned horizontally or vertically? Which is better? I was like, I just said, I think it's aesthetics mostly, but to be honest with you, there's a lot more experienced gamers here that could let me know. So here we are. Who or what am I in World War I trivia? We're going to go backwards and take a look at some of the funky stuff that I saw. So here's our previous three whatevers. And last week, who was it? Was it Charles Latora that got the Switzerland thing? I think it was. Yeah, because now you're up to 25 points. It should be popping you up. Boink. He asked the same question. The answer is yes. Ask me. Oh, cool. Okay, so there is one. Well, elaborate, please, Meandering Mike. Which would be great. As you can see, I didn't rearrange the points, but I should have. So anyways, here, I'm going to give you your first clue. And like I said, I'm having a fun one with the first question. It's essentially going to be the same clue every week until maybe I get sick of it. But here's your first one. I've been in the news a lot recently. Like I said, let's be honest. What do you think I'm trying to do as well? I'm always trying to like tie things back in. I want people to go to the community tab and take a look at the daily headlines and so on and so forth, and then bring it back to the live streams and so on and so forth. I want a constant feedback loop of engagement with all of us, for goodness sakes. It's what I'm here for. I'm hoping, anyways, there we go. Now we got tons of stuff here. Hank Snow, I'm going to give you a point. Hold on here. But you are incorrect, but you're getting a point. Hold on here, Tolemykus. And Wardrobe plays World War II. Nice one, considering I just mentioned it, but you are incorrect. Hold on here. I got to get my pencil out again. Yep, I got to remind myself we're not going to go anywhere near what I would like to talk about. And Charles Latora says, hexes, for me, it doesn't matter. I just want the hex lines to be visible and the hex numbers to be legible. Oh my gosh. And here's another one. I'm sorry. I can't get over it yet. I'm still of that day. And it's like, my God, Mr. Weltkrieg map. I'm having a hell of a time with non-closed hex lines. Those weird things that just do the little corners. It drives me nuts. Oh my God. If the hex grain follows the general front lines, it benefits the defender since the attacker will, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. Since the attacker will typically be able to attack only, oh shit, oh my God, Meandering Mike, you're on a whole other wavelength you're like, I'm so glad you're far away and I don't have to play against you. U-boats, William Arends, you're getting a point, but you are incorrect. And, the clue, sorry, here, hold on here. It's going to be the same one every week, Meandering Mike, probably the very first time, which is I've been in the news a lot recently. I'm trying to, like I said, get people to do some stuff here. Oh gosh, look at all these the answers for the hexes. This is wicked. Horizontal is generally more pleasing to the eye, but games that have unit facing towards a vertex feel right on the vertical layout. Thanks, DJ Flippy. And then we've got Brian R. Smith over here. On this day in 1917, Italian troop ship Minus was sunk in the Ionian Sea by German submarine SMU-39 with a loss of, holy, that's monstrous, 870 lives. That, as we know, it's not the biggest one. That was that troop ship last year, I think, the French troop ship. That was over 1,000 or something, 1,500. But holy Moses, thanks, man. And then DJ Flippy says you want to have your units moving forward. Wicked. This is thanks, guys. Okay, here we go with the second clue. I served in the Spanish-American War, so obviously, who am I? Now we've got Zoe Dufour. Hi, good morning. Great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Kendrick Lamar, Meandering Mike says, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. I'm going to pot your things. Tolemykus says, Drake, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. Hold on here. I'm going to make sure I've got everybody here. Wardrobe Place, World War II. I love that one. Pershing, but you are incorrect. Man, you're really, oh my God. William Arends, nice one, but you are incorrect because he really is actually. Mr. Roosevelt got a lot of stuff there. And Harro Bosma says, Pershing, you're incorrect. You're going to get a point. Hold on here. And I'll give you 2 points. Why not? Because technically it is. You said the first one is that. Correct? It could, you know what I mean? I'm being a whatever. Tough. And then here's your third clue. See what I mean, William Arends, which kind of freaked me out? In 1914, I defeated Franklin D. Roosevelt in the race for the leadership of the Democratic Party. Like, I don't know what it is. I swear to God, we must have some kind of weird psychic link, William Arends. I love it. And Taylor, okay. Zoe Dufour says, Taylor Swift for the point. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And Tolemykus says Don Diego, and he's going to, Tolemykus gets a point, but you are also incorrect. And so there's your third clue. I'll pop it back up again. In 1914, I defeated Franklin D. Roosevelt in the race for the leadership of the Democratic Party. All right. Can't get that one. And here's your next one. I visited the camps of British POWs at the beginning of the war and did much to help them. Who am I? All right. And then we're going to go off to, as you can see, like that. Like I said, we've got way more than an hour's worth of material to do. It's just ridiculous. I absolutely adore it. And I just, like I said, I've just got to make sure that the, you son of a bee, Brian R. Smith, you son of a bee. Well, I'm going to show Wardrobe Place, World War II, Truman. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. And Brian R. Smith pops it again. James W. Gerard, you're right. The American ambassador to Germany has been in the news quite a bit lately, hasn't he? So here, I'll show you a picture. Well done, Brian R. Smith. I'll give you the other remainders of the clues. I wrote several books of my experiences during the war, and one of them, my 4 years in Germany, that should have been a small Y, was made into a film. There's also something about the Kaiser thing. He had a really interesting name for one of his titles. I was given a note from the Kaiser himself to send to the American people in regards to the invasion of neutral Belgium, and it read, had to be violated by Germany on strategical grounds. It was given to Wilson, never sent to the public. And as you know, the answer is James W. Gerard, American ambassador to Germany. Well done. And now I'm going to stop the screen temporarily so I can show you a picture of him. Seems like an interesting fellow. And so, yeah, he didn't win the Democratic race, but he beat out Roosevelt for that bit. So well done, Brian R. Smith. And I'm going to get rid of this dude, and then we're going to go back to thing, because I certainly want to get off into, oh my gosh, there's just so much stuff to do. I love it. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to present the screen because we're going to go straight to last week's, like I was mentioning to Zoe Dufour earlier on, which I hadn't done. Please let me know if it's too small, guys. I really need to know these things. Like, in other words, I get rid of me so you guys can see that. And I was also mentioning to Zoe Dufour, Tolemykus, which freaks me out, was, I don't know if you know, but the way I've always envisioned my war table is it's almost exactly like that. So when I saw your cover page for this, I lost my marbles. I went, oh my God, this is incredible. So I thought, oh, wait a minute, last week we didn't do the answer for it, so let's go. And if you remember, it's the mission to save the guns of Blue Cateau, August 26, 1914. Hissy Cat's going to say Batman, and I'll give you a point as well later on, you silly little goose. And not going to go through the whole thing, but actually I think, you know what? Yep, I'm going to have to get rid of me so you guys can see it a bit better. Or if I put me in this wacky little, no, let's just stop being silly. There we go. So anyways, I'm not going to go through the whole thing here. I don't want to I don't want to point, but if we were naming hip hop crews, I might as well supply one that is actually good. Cannibal Ox. I've never heard of them, but I'll go and take a look at them in YouTube. Thank you. I'll leave it on there just for a little bit more so people can actually see it there. Are you guys doing all kinds? Is that what you guys are doing? And I just don't know. So anyways, if remember, well, here, we'll go with the questions very quickly. If you were in command, what would be the best way to save the artillery pieces before they fell into German hands? Organize a quick cavalry charge. Did we do this one first, or was it the second one? No, no. This was it. Destroy the guns in place with explosives to prevent them from being captured. Leave the guns behind and focus on saving as many men as possible. I'm just trying to think of the very, very first one when he did the Tsar's Gold with us. Call for a last stand defense to buy more time for artillery crews to withdraw the guns, or attempt to conceal the guns under debris and abandoned equipment to recover them later. And here we go with the best course of action and reasoning, according to Tolemykus. And like I said last week, I got it. I was super happy. And that was based on the fact I keep reading about this is what they keep doing back and forth, making sure. It's probably happened since Napoleonic times, if I remember correctly, my little miniatures battles. Best course of action and reasoning. The best answer is B, destroy the guns in place with explosives to prevent them from being captured. While a cavalry charge, A, was bold, it was unlikely to succeed under heavy artillery fire. At a last stand, D, would risk more lives than necessary. Concealment, E, was impractical, and leaving the guns behind, C, would mean arming the enemy. Destroying the guns ensured they would not be used against British forces later and prevented a strategic loss while still allowing troops to retreat safely. Thank you, Tolemykus. And now we're going off to number 2. And like I said, we'll just do right up to best course of action and reasoning, and we'll do that next week, which I think is kind of cool. So the escape of the Cossack Ghost, 1915. I haven't even read this yet, so this is neat. By 1915, Eastern Front of World War I was a chaotic battlefield of shifting lines, brutal winter conditions, and espionage. Awesome. Among the most feared Russian cavalry leaders was Colonel Nikolai the Cossack Ghost Karitnov. Let's just go with that. A commander of a Don Cossack regiment known for his lightning-fast raids behind Austro-Hungarian lines. His unit had derailed supply trains, ambushed enemy officers, and cut telegraph lines, making him a high-value target for the Central Powers. And they forgot option F, challenge the enemy to a dance-off with one of your crazy bloody DJ people or whatever you guys are things. Where am I here? In December 1915, during a daring raid in Galicia, modern-day Ukraine, Poland, the Cossack Ghost and his men were caught. See how I got around that? Were caught in an Austro-Hungarian counterattack. Most of his unit was killed or captured, but the Cossack Ghost, badly wounded, managed to escape into the snow-covered forests near Przemyśl. As reports of his survival spread, both Austrian intelligence agents and German operatives scrambled to track him down. Russian command sent a covert rescue team to find him, but their last message stated that they encountered enemy patrols and were forced to scatter. The Cossack Ghost, alone and injured, had to find a way back to Russian lines before he was caught and executed as a war criminal. Ooh. Question, if you were in the Cossack Ghost's position, what would be the best course of action to evade capture and return to friendly lines? Oh my gosh, and I forgot yet again to mention this about on a sideways note when I was talking to Zoe Dufour earlier in the week about Choose Our Own Adventure. She's like, oh, great that you guys are bringing this, that you're also bringing it back to gaming and not just about the Great War. And look what's happening. Boink, we've got this logic puzzle from Tolemykus, another game. It's freaking awesome. Anyways, disguise himself as a local peasant and attempt to blend in while slowly making his way east. Hide in an abandoned farmhouse for another Russian rescue attempt. Attempt to cross the San River under cover of darkness despite his injuries. Find a surviving Cossack ally and stealing an enemy's officer's horse for a quick escape. Oh boy, this is going to be a good one. Try to bribe local smugglers or resistance fighters to lead him to safety. Clues and false reports. A local villager claimed to have seen a Russian officer near a burned-out church, but no tracks were found. Austrian patrols were seen searching farmhouses and abandoned buildings in the area. A captured Russian soldier claimed the Cossack Ghost was already dead, but his body was never found. German radio intercepts mentioned an urgent search for an unknown target near the front lines. A coded message from Russian intelligence suggested they had a contact in a nearby town who could help, but the location was vague. Boom, 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 boom. I love this stuff. Discussion topics. How did cavalry tactics change during World War I as trench warfare became dominant? I mean, this is school stuff, man. You would want to bring to a classroom, for goodness sakes. I mean, talk about a way of bringing history alive. What role did espionage and counterintelligence play in Eastern Europe during the war? How did local populations assist or betray soldiers caught behind enemy lines? What were the challenges of surviving in harsh winter conditions while evading capture? How did legendary figures like the Cossack Ghost impact morale and propaganda efforts? Awesome Central. And there we go. We're back to this. And I guess I can pop myself into this funky little thing again. Thank you so much, Tolemykus. Oh, man. Really good stuff. And now we're going to go off to William Arends's for a couple of upcoming conventions in the greater Toronto area. And then we're back to Tolemykus again for the Ferryman's House. This is freaking awesome. Yeah, because you went and looked it up there when I was mentioning it last week in the after hours war summary, and you went and looked it up for me. Thank you so much, Tolemykus. So how do I do this? I think I have it over here, which is also going to bring us over into. Did I not put it in the reply? I thought I had it in the reply. Hold on, I've got to go and find it then. Is that it? Oh, it's called the contributions. All right, there we go. So there you are, William Arends. I hope you don't mind. I popped your whole bloody thing in here, and then we're going to go super quick. Take a look at the breakout link. I could not find the other one, but you did mention here. Anyway, shush. There are 2 war game conventions occurring in the GTA, Greater Toronto Area, that are as follows. Breakout Con, March 14th to the 16th, Friday to Sunday, held at the Sheridan Centre, 123 Queen Street West. And there's also the convention room rate is $220 a night, and there's also a daily registration fee. Remember, that's Canadian for you people. Oops. F, pose as a YouTuber and say you are making a video. Ask everyone you meet if they want to be in your video. Oh, you little. Hey, that's a good one, actually. There's also a daily registration fee. At the moment, I'm not planning to attend the convention, but I might change my mind and go to it for at least one day. 2, this is the one I couldn't find, but then you mentioned that just go and contact, you've got a contact for the organizer. I was invited and I am planning to attend the one-day CondoCon in Concord, Vaughan, Ontario, just north of Toronto. This will be held on Saturday, April 26, 2025. The event is free. Oh, nice. And totally dedicated to wargaming. Oh, my. That seems like a really, really, really good one. Yes. If you would be interested in attending, I would forward your email address to David Bloomberg, the organizer of the event. I realize that does conflict with the live stream. No worries. Now we're going to get back to this bit because I did mention to someone that, and yet don't start critiquing the person. The person's not here to defend themselves. They're just popping in their thing here. But I wanted to share it with you because I thought, first of all, it was a huge amount of material the person commented on. We will get to your thing, Tolemykus, but it was just, did I? No, it's, no, we're going to get to it, but it's just this bit here about SPI's World War I, 1914, 1918, and it's by a viewer, China Paul. Well, you can read it there. I'm not going to go through that bit, but this is what he wrote. Thanks for the series. Indeed, Dunnigan designed this game to very much be a strategic level game. It was about my video posts of the game. The game also reflects his approach to simulations, at least according to his SPI colleagues. Focus on one major concept that accurately reflects the event under study and enable that to power the experience. In this game, it's resource points, and their role is to show how offensives were irregular and limited. And it took a lot to drive change on whatever front one was focusing on. And that tactics and equipment were less important than industry and the economy generally. Operational considerations thus follow on what's available. And there's precious little that is available to shift circumstances on that level. The original edition that you are playing is, in my mind, at least a simulation, a design that's meant to show how the war evolved and that it was marked mostly by stalemate. When the game appeared, there was far less interest in World War I than in World War II and the Cold War. And Dunnigan was quoted somewhere saying that he wanted to remedy this, as well as the hand-wringing that he felt was going on about missed opportunities during the conflict opportunities, which he saw as scarce at best. The decision one makes matter, but there are not a lot of options available unless you're willing to accumulate resources, which means that one side cannot stay entirely passive. The revised versions that have appeared since this original one in Strategy and Tactics, and then the more recently issued Deluxe Edition, mounted maps and more variants, are exercises in potential alternative history and seem to appeal to those who are looking to play a game, one that seeks to break history rather than accurately reflect it. If the first iteration was about why the war developed the way it did, the latter are more of the why not type, and like Paths of Glory and others that have followed, they involve a good deal more gamesmanship. It's no surprise that the latter are played more often, particularly at conventions, because they allow one more agency. Those are good fun, but they are not at all good history. Wow. I was really just absolutely blown away that someone would pop that in. So there we go. Now we're off to the ferryman's house. I got to get rid of me so you guys can see this even bigger. So like I said, thank you so much, Tolemykus, for looking this up, because I was like, what is this ferryman's house? The way it was sounding, I thought it was like some secret Belgian organization. Yet again, more intrigue and whatnot. I love this stuff. The ferryman's house. I'm not going to read the, or maybe can we? I don't think it's a bit too much. Or maybe I'll read a little bit because I want to make sure that we go into other stuff. And if we still have more time, I'll go towards. That makes sense. The ferryman's house, and don't worry, I'll pop this in the community tab, along with this week's logic puzzle. The ferryman's house, which is what is it? The Cossack ghost. The ferryman's house played an important role during World War I as a critical observation post and communication hub along the Yasser River in Belgium during the Battle of the Yasser, 1914. Here's why it matters. Strategic significance. The ferryman's house, known locally as Maison de Passeur, was situated near a key crossing point on the Yasser River. This modest building became a frontline command post for Belgian and French forces, who used it to monitor enemy movements and coordinate defensive efforts during the critical battle. The Battle of the Yasser. The Yasser River marked the last defensive line for the Belgian army after the fall of much of Belgium. In October 1914, facing overwhelming German forces, the Belgians opened the sluice gates. Awesome. I'm so glad you brought that up as well. And flooded the surrounding area, halting the German advance. Because I'd love to do a mini game about that for Hissy Cat's postcards from the front, his jam. The ferryman's house was one of the few structures that remained above water, making it vital for communication. And it's a symbol of resistance. And then I'll stop it there and we'll go off into Wonderland. The ferryman's house became a symbol of Belgian resilience. Despite heavy shelling and continuous fighting, the building remained standing. Cool. Defying the odds. Soldiers who passed through it often etched their names. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. And messages on its walls, leaving behind a record of their experiences. Sweet. All right, so we're going to go to, should it not be that one? Or I have to stop the screen. Go back to here. All right, we're there. All right, but I want to start getting into some fun stuff, or a bit more. I'm not saying that wasn't fun stuff, but I mean pictures and whatever. So let me see where we're at here. We did that. Oh yes. And here I'm going to on a side note. This was when I was on Corvinus's Wargaming as a participant, a viewer or whatever, on his live stream earlier in the week there, where he's like, just hobby hangout. We were talking about, I was making a little joke that I was at 666 subscribers. And I was like, oh, I hope I stay at that devilish number for a while. And then he was talking about the fact that he was happy with the number that he has, and that he likes the group that he has, and he's content with that. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm actually, you know what I mean? We're at a good level. I'm really liking where we're at. We got, some people come in and out, the irregulars, if you want to call it, the irregular troops, and then we have the regular group. And it's nice. I was talking to yet again with Zoe Dufour earlier in the week. And she's like, yeah, it is. It's nice. Everybody knows each other's names. We know when people are missing and so on and so forth. It's a good vibe place. And I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm so freaking grateful. So thank you guys so much. Now let's get on to a tiny little bit of choose our own adventure. just a little bit more. I can't do too much more in the sense that I haven't done much, and I want to just quickly go over a little tiny bit more, I guess. Hold on, I'm going to stop the screen. I'm going to present, and we can go towards there. Like I said, I wanted to, for ages, wanted to do an RPG based in the Great War, but yet again is, boink, who is Sam and who is Diane? Oh, nice one. And then yet again with Corvinus Wargaming, he's been working on getting ready to do a Call of Cthulhu-ish RPG and whatnot. And he was also talking about and lots of people know the problems of trying to get a group together consistently and so on and so forth. And I went, still want to do one. How do I go about this? Still want to engage with everybody on the weekly live streams and do whatnot. And I was like, let's do a choose our own adventure and just go with it. I don't know how it's going to how it's going to evolve over time because it's our adventure. That's why I'm looking at it yet again. But I thought I was saying to Eric Chavez that, you know what we're going to do, not this week, next week, I hope, is the winner of the trivia question. So it would have been Brian R. Smith this week, would have been able to pick the decision point for how the narrative goes. So it'll be like, blah, blah, blah. What do you do? So the first thing, obviously, is I want to, who knows, maybe later on we'll go with this adventure. Look, I'm just going to tell you, it's a mystery. That's for sure. It's going to start off that way, and it's based in St. John's in the winter of 1914, 1915. I can give you a little bit more info, a little bit. I'll do a better bio later on. But once we pick our character, we'll go off from there. And, of course, the character that we pick is going to obviously shape the narrative. They're going to have different decision points that they can make, and also different strengths and weaknesses. Like I was talking to Zoe Dufour yet again earlier in the week. I was like, look at Sarah St. Amour, the recent orphan. We'll look at her in a minute. She's obviously got different strengths and weaknesses than, let's say, Mrs. Elsie Vey, who's a society member, can do this, that, or the other thing. But yet again, Sarah St. Amour maybe is largely ignored. She can get into situations where other people cannot see things. Thank you, William Arends, and I'll go off and get it because we're at 11:42. So there's our first guy, John Smith. I can just tell you he's like a shopkeeper of dry goods. I thought he will be pretty interesting due to the fact of his background. So he's got a good connection with First Nations, Innu, that as well as the European things. I thought that would be a nice connection. Joshua Reed, I changed him from a high school teacher to now a Methodist preacher, and he's going to be well connected with the St. John's community. Lots of stuff going on with St. John's, Newfoundland, and Newfoundland in general during the Great War, from what I've been reading. Lots of good material to draw upon. Amazing, really, really good stuff. Lots of political interests going on. There was like the Fishermen's Protectorate Union, which we'll eventually get to. Lynn Cook, which blew me away that she seems to be actually leading the pack right now. The nurse midwife who's considering joining as a volunteer at the Red Cross and going to Europe. I was really surprised. Of course, these are all Bing AI generated, whatever. So hopefully it doesn't drive anybody nuts. But what do you want? There's, as I said, Mrs. Elsie Vey. Her husband is serving in Europe. She's part of the Patriotic Party or something. Anyways, I looked at it's all. You'll see it. I've got it written down. I've been reading up on this stuff. Yeah, she's in second place. Sarah St. Amour, recent war orphan. She's been living with her aunt and uncle for a while. She's motherless. Her dad's fighting in the war, has not been heard from since. Uncle has left, and the aunt's like, I don't have time for you, and is now living in the orphanage, which you saw on the map. Anybody in the map of St. John, there it is, and it'll blow it up a bit more. Actually, I can do this little thing here. There. But there's a lot of good stuff there. My goodness, look at all this. There you can see the orphanage off to the left. Yeah, I was really surprised, Brian R. Smith. They did a good job. And as you know, that Mrs. Elsie Vey, actually, I find such a captivating picture. Like I find I'm staring at her going, She's like, I'm like, this isn't a real person, or it's been derived from whatever. But as you can see, an AI generated orphan. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, they're really good. I was really surprised, really, really impressed. And like I said, I wanted to mix it up. I wanted to have half women, half men, not the usual whatevers. Is you can always usually find something wacky with an AI generated image, and I was looking for them. Like you'll look at Miss Cook, one of her fingers is a little bit screwed up, and so on and so forth. Like you look here, like his pant here is a bit screwed up. So William, Billy O'Brien, of course, I'm using William for our William and that type of stuff. And Billy is for a Billy that I know, and O'Brien is for someone else that I know. He's actually, I've changed him. He's now part of, he's from Flat Rock, Newfoundland, not Halifax, because I know somebody from Flat Rock. I know, so do I. There's always something a bit, yeah, I know. But what can I do? I'm not an artist, so I'm going with what I can. So he's part of that fisherman's union kind of thing. So there's already a bit of intrigue, and he's wintering in St. John's. And I thought, so I'm having fun with this. And is that it? I think it is. All right, so I can stop this. And we are at 15 minutes in. I do want to go to, hold your horses here. We're going to go back to the thing, and then we're going to go off to, okay, this one just freaked me out. And then we're off to your ATA. Like I said, we're going to make sure that we do the community contribution stuff, and the other stuff is just going to go out the window. Hold on here. So this is from the Edith Wharton book that I told you I mentioned. It's just this certain passage here, guys. I'm going to bring down here. Is this here? So it's just she's talking about she's not like well into areas where she shouldn't be going. Gone, destroyed by the Germans on the 4th of September. It's the final passage which really freaked me out. Is the free and lofty situation of the little town, for it was really a good deal more than a village, makes its present state the more lamentable. One can see it from so far off, and through the torn traceries of its ruined church, the eye travels over so lovely a stretch of country. This is what freaked me out. No doubt its beauty enriched the joy of wrecking it. I was like, what the hell? That's a weird. She's such a good writer, though. My gosh. Okay, now hold on. Let me see if I can get to the other stuff, and then we're off to ATA land, because I do want to show you this rather quickly. So this is all this little bits and bobs about, like I said, about whether or not the Germans missed a golden opportunity of potentially winning the war, or of at least getting into a settled peace. So this is from this is from the Great War at Sea. Vocabulary word of the day. Calcine, cool, I love it. And there you are. I'm out and about, but wanted to say hello. Great to see you. We actually were just talking about you on a side note a little bit. So there you go. We'll watch later. Well, you're going to hear about yourself there later on then. So yeah, so this is from the Great War at Sea book that I got on over here. Where is this? Oh, it just talks about the glitcher, but where was it? Here. It was a bit yet again about, oh goody, I'm being smart. This knocked me out. Remember we were talking about Tirpitz before, about yay or nay with submarines in here. It says, when the subject came up for discussion in 1901, Tirpitz had told the Reichstag that the new Navy had no need for submersibles. We have no money to waste on experimental vessels. We must leave such luxuries to wealthier states like France and England. I'm like, wow, talk about changing your mind later on. And then here we go again. But these Russian boats caused Tirpitz to change his mind. And in 1905, 1906, this was a bunch of the Russians had ordered some submarines. Tirpitz to change his mind, and in the 1905-1906 naval estimate, some 70,000 pounds was set aside for experiments connected with submarines. I just wanted to bring that up, and then I think I've also got that correspondence bit, like I was saying about with Jellicoe and Tirpitz, and I'm just like, wow, this is so awesome stuff to read. This new. Oh yeah, this I'm gonna have to look it up at one point. This is when Jellicoe was starting at the very beginning, starting to clue in. The very beginning. This is where they're I think even and they're like having a conniption fit about how good the U-boats are doing, and the Germans just don't clue in. It was an achievement which gave the fleet great encouragement, although unfortunately this all too rapidly turned into periscopitis and jellicoe jitters. I think it was just two terms I wanted to find out about that I didn't. And this is, remember again, I wanted to find out a little bit about how President Wilson was like. So this is from the book, The Lusitania, much at the very end. And anyways, it's just that little bit here. If I pondered over those tragic items that daily appear in the newspapers about the Lusitania, this is Wilson. I'm pretty candid here. It's like he's not like, this isn't a public whatever. I should see red in everything, and I'm afraid that when I am called upon to act with reference to this situation, I could not be just to anyone. I dare not act unjustly and cannot indulge my own passionate feelings. I don't know much about President Wilson. I know he was a racist freak from hell and all that other stuff and whatever, but no one's perfect and whatnot, so I'm not going to do whatever. And I just from there, I'm like, okay, a different side to whatever. I want to find out about things here. This blew me away as well. Kaiser Wilhelm himself expressed a certain repugnance of attacks on passenger liners in February 1916. He told Fleet Commander Admiral Scheer, "Were I the captain of a U-boat, I would never torpedo a ship if I knew that women and children were aboard." The next month, Germany's most senior advocate of unrestricted warfare, State Secretary Alfred von Tirpitz. God, we didn't even do the video today. We're not going to get to it because I'm going to the ATA. Resigned in frustration. This brought a sympathy of note. Now we're with the Jellicoe and Tirpitz stuff, and this just knocked me. So I was like, this is going on throughout the war. It just blows me away. "Dear old Turks," he wrote. I'm like, God Almighty, this is awesome stuff. He urged Tirpitz to cheer up and told him, you're the one German sailor who understands war. Kill your enemy without being killed yourself. And yeah, Jellicoe actually way back when was trying to say, guys, the submarine could be used for offensive purposes. Do you not see this? And Churchill way back when's like, no, that would never happen. No civilized people would ever do that. Yep. Kill your enemy without being killed yourself. I don't blame you for the submarine business. I'd have done the same myself, only our idiots in England wouldn't believe it when I told them. Well, so long. He signed off with his usual closing. Yours till hell freezes, Fisher. I mean, come on, man. That is just kick-ass awesome stuff. And this is probably just yet again. And then we're going to go off to your stuff. This is about, yet again, trying to figure out the amount of U-boats probably needed to effectively do a proper naval blockade of England if you're going to go into the unrestricted submarine warfare bits. You can see 200 U-boats. They're nowhere near that amount, even when they wanted to go in for the second stint. Certainly not for the first, for goodness sakes. Well, yeah, here it is about the way back when you see 1903, when Jackie Fisher is losing his marbles over what the potential of U-boats. So there we go. I'm going to stop this because I need to go to grab William Arends' thing. I'm also going to start destroying things left, right, and center because there's a bazillion things we didn't get to. Tough. We'll get to them next week. Or we don't. Okay, World War One narrative. We did that one. I'm just trying to get rid of as many things as possible. Docs, blank. And then I'm going to put into here 18. Now I can go and grab your thing, William Arends. And there we are. And we got 7 minutes. We're doing pretty darn kind of good. Oh my gosh. Like I said, by Monday afternoon, I already knew. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got over an hour's worth of material and it's Monday afternoon. This does not, well, it's good, but I was like, jeepers jumping. All right, hold on here. I'm going to change it all to a good, a much better font for myself. Calibri, 18 font size. That seems to be good. And this is, remember, straight out of the oven, so there's no editing, nothing. We're just going with it. And that's that. All right, here we go. And you guys can see that. Translator's note. Here are reports from the end of January on the state of the U-boat war from the German perspective and one on the air war. Berlin's latest news, my favorite nonpartisan newspaper. 31st January 1917, the evening edition. German U-boats in the Atlantic Ocean. Frankfurt, morning, 31st of January. The Frankfurt newspaper reported out of Bern on the 30th of January. The American agency, in conjunction with the English embassy in Rio de Janeiro, has been notified that in the Atlantic Ocean, operational auxiliary cruisers were working together with undersea boats. And by the way, William Arends, if you ever want me to postpone, like let's say if you bring pop in the ATA late, and you're like, Chris, I'd rather you edit it to make it nice and pretty, let me know. I'll certainly do that. The Frankfurt newspaper received the following report through Stockholm from Tokyo. As a consequence of the intelligence report about the appearance of 2 German auxiliary cruisers in the Western Indian Ocean, the Japanese shipping line routes have been suspended. English anti-U-boat measures, 30th of January in Amsterdam. The Naval Minister, Sir Edward Carson, and the delegation from the Association of the English Commercial Fleet has stated that all measures would be taken against the U-boat terror. The declaration was supported by Admiral Jellicoe. The delegation was assured that every conceivable thing was being done to secure the routes of the merchant shipping of England and those who are allied with it. We still haven't got into the convoy system yet. The colossal booty of the U-boats and the destruction of an M-class English destroyer. In the week from the 18th to the 25th January, one of our U-boats sunk at least 17 ships with a combined gross registered tonnage of 18,056 tons. Well, it would have been. I shouldn't have said tons twice. The loads sunk included 5,000 tons of grain, 7,500 tons of coal, and other items needed by the enemy. And coal is, as we know, around the, boink. I'm getting better at correcting now my typos. And ATA, raw and unchained, the crowd roars, wicked. I like that one. That's nice, Tolemykus. Also, an M-class destroyer was sunk by a torpedo in the English Channel. Translators note the following is a condensation of the rest of the article. The M-class destroyer that was sunk belongs to a class of newly designed ships. And thanks, William Arends, because on a side note, when I was reading up the thing, I'm like, what is an M-class destroyer? And now you're telling us. It's awesome. The M-class destroyer that was sunk belongs to a class of newly designed ships built from 1914 to 1916 by the Staples Shipyard. They were armed with 3 10.2 centimeter caliber guns and torpedo tubes 53 centimeters wide. During this war, we have destroyed 21 ships of this class that we know by name, including the destroyers Medusa and Murray. 17 more destroyers, whose designation we do not know, have also been eliminated in various sea battles from January 1915 until today, giving us a total of 38 destroyed. I'm just making sure I'm looking at all the right stuff here. In the weeks between the 14th and the 25th of January, 32 ships with 66,000 tons had been sunk. This was accomplished by 4 U-boats. How many more U-boats are operating is something that only we know. In the Mediterranean Sea, 3 freight steamers with 5,000 tons were sunk. Also on the 9th of January, a transport steamer was sunk 115 nautical miles east of Malta. The activity in the air, January 29th, it freaked me out when I read 150 nautical miles because I think that, well, it may not have been nautical miles, but that's the distance of that island, the naval battle off of Brazil. The activity in the air, January 29th. On the 29th of January, there was lively and brisk activity in the air on the whole of the Western Front. The clear, freezing weather favored the undertaking of the observation mission of many long-distance flights up to the sea that brought back much important observation of enemy positions. In the harbors of Calais, Boulogne, and Staples, numerous ships were seen and lively commerce detected. Also on the rail lines behind the English and French forts, much transport of goods by our enemies were overwatched by us. These important results of our observers were laid out in numerous photographic surveys. During these observation flights, a great amount of anti-aircraft shots had to be flown through. We then laid on the English reinforcements at the important train station of Albert, 500 kilograms of reinforcement in the troop camps west of Peronne. Good observation allowed us to explode 550 kilograms of drop munitions. Other squadrons had damaged a factory in Domblassé, southeast of Nancy, that has been producing war material, targeting that site with 1,000 kilograms of bombs. Enemy squadrons out of Mornay, Bapaume, and the region of Saint-Quentin claimed as victims many French inhabitants and wounded 1 horse. My goodness. Besides that, they caused no damage. Thanks. And now we're going to go quickly to the week. Let's try. February 9th to the 15th February, and then they're off to after hours land. February 9th, east of the Meuse, an enemy attack fails under French fire. East of Sailly-Salisel, Germans counterattack new British positions but are repulsed. East of Gorizia, Austro-Hungarian attack enters certain Italian positions and take 1,000 prisoners. Report on the Senussi operations is issued. German government admit having prevented Mr. Gerard. Oh, goody. I don't have to mention this. I was going to start talking about Mr. Gerard, the ambassador. Now it's going to fill it in for me. Gerard communicating with the USA, stating falsely that Karl Bernstorff has not been allowed communication with Germany. Remember, Germany also thought their crews were being detained, which was not the case. They were just taken off the ships. Mr. Gerard and his passport is given his passports along with his crew by German authorities. I screwed it up. Sorry. Oops. February 10th, in the Encore region, south of Sarah Hill, British capture strong system of hostile trenches on a front of 1,250 yards and take 250 prisoners. Successful Allied raids at Gonvesy, Neuville, Grandcourt, La Bassée, Neufchâtel, Aubreville, and Luneville. German airmen bombed Dunkirk, Amiens, and Nancy. At Valona, 2 of 3 Austro-Hungarian hydroplanes are captured by Italian airmen. How the hell did that happen? Near Kut, Turks deliver 4 unsuccessful night attacks on the British right flank. Oh, we're going to get into the licorice factory. Kut, British carry the licorice factory, you damn right, and establish a new line on a 6,000-yard front, pressing back the Turks from 800 to 1,200 yards. Peru cables their protest to Berlin. China sends energetic protest to Germany and threatens to break off diplomatic relations. Chile sends a reply to Germany refusing to recognize the blockade and retaining a free hand in case of damage to Chilean ships. Germany declares the period of grace for neutral shipping has expired. And Mr. Gerard leaves Berlin. I think he goes Switzerland, then off to Halifax, something crazy like that. Oh, there you are, Jason Henke. Great to see you lurking, but wanted to say hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. Hope all is well. And I hope all is well with you as well, man. German government state that the restraint placed on Mr. Gerard was an error of minor officials. Swiss minister sends a message from Germany to USA suggesting a discussion on ways of preventing the war. The American steamship Lyman M. Law is sunk by submarine off of Sardinia. Where Arends says I also translated part of an article on February 14th, 1917, on an essay of professor of economics from the neutral Netherlands, Dr. J.P. Lotson, who wrote in a paper from Den Haag. Well, I certainly hope you're going to share it with us, which I'm sure you will. Anyways, I'm sure you will. This is good stuff. Where are we here? At Kut, British resume attack on the Turkish positions on the right bank of the Tigris, hemming them in on the Dara Bend and taking all but the last line of trenches. East of Gorizia, the Italians recovered the trenches taken by the Austro-Hungarians along with 100 prisoners. And of course, we've seen this before 3 trillion times. Great to see you, Hex to Hex. Hope you're doing super well. Yeah, we're running over 3 minutes over, about to go to after hours. And as we've seen this, Tolemykus, what do you mean where? You're going to have to let me know. I don't know if you mean me where or them where, like you're talking to the... Anyways, I'll go back to this. As we're going to see here, of course, typical of the Great War, next day, the other side takes it back. Day after that, the other side takes it. It's just like, Lord of mercy. South of Elise, a small hostile force crosses the Dniester on the ice, but is driven back by Russian counterattack. North of the Ancre, British take about 600 yards of the enemy trenches near the Beaucourt-Puiseux road. South of the Serre Hill, Germans attack new British positions, but are repulsed with heavy losses. February 12th, south of Serre, several more unsuccessful German attacks. East of Souchez, British raid takes 48 prisoners. More successful Allied raids at Neuville, Luce, and Ypres. South of Bukovina, near Jakovny, Germans attack and take the new Russian positions, including 1,200 prisoners. East of Monastir, Hill 105 is attacked by the Germans, who gain a footing at several points in the Italian front lines. And I'm not sure. No, it's Hill 104 is Dead Man's Hill, I do believe. Or no, it's real. Just shut up. But that's in Verdun. I was just trying to see if there was a connection of the same number. Mr. Gerard and staff arrive in Switzerland. The Netherlands government representative assumes charge of British interests in Germany. February 13th. It's not interesting, considering they are a neutral. February 13th, President Wilson declines to entertain negotiations with Germany unless the proclamation of ruthless submarine warfare is withdrawn. But yet, remember, Montreal is the city for Swiss connections for the Americans. And so, interesting. February 13th, President Wilson declines to entertain negotiations with Germany unless the proclamation of ruthless submarine warfare is withdrawn. At Petrograd, Lord Milner, at the close of the Allied conference, says much good is being done in bringing about closer cooperation between the Entente countries. Yeah, that's because the revolution hasn't occurred yet, or they're about to just turf the Tsar in about a month. The Whites are a couple. Pretty soon. The White Star liner Afrique of 12,000 tons is reported sunk. Lord Lytton for the Admiralty says countermeasures against submarine menace have already achieved considerable success. I will say this. It's kind of neat that Hex to Hex pops up, because I've always got this little thing with him and the Romanovs. Just do. So there you go. Near Jacobiny, Russian counterattacks fail. Southeast of Grandcourt, British capture a strong point. Northeast of Arras, British raid 40 prisoners. February 14th, 12 miles of northwest of Compiègne, the French army carry out a successful large-scale raid between Zlokov and Tarnopol. Germans report of a successful raid on an important position, taking 275 men and 6 officers. It's a pretty big number ratio. East of Monastir, there's a bigger one later. East of Monastir, Italians counterattack and reestablish their line. Bruges harbor is again bombed by British airmen. The German ambassador to the USA, Gerard, with staff, sails from Hoboken in the steamship Frederick VIII. I'm not sure if that's how you got. It's a double B, maybe. You guys would know that. It's an American place. February 15th. So you're obviously not going to Halifax. February 15th, attempted German raids near Luss, west of Messines and northeast of Ypres, breaks down under heavy counterfire. West of Maison de Champagne, a German attack penetrates the French salient, gaining several lines of trenches and taking prisoner 21 officers and 837 men. Hold on. Interview with Sir Douglas Haig is published. Man, am I ever over. Decisive day for the Battle of Kut, as the Turks are driven from the right bank of the Tigris. An Italian transport bound for Salonika is sunk by submarine west of Matapan. The British government take over all coal mines in the United Kingdom for the period of the war. In Brussels, the U.S. minister is ordered by the Germans to lower the American flag over the legation. Damn it! There's 2 words. That's one. I don't know what the hell that is. And there's another word. I'm going to have to go look it up. I've got it in Chutes and Ladders. I can't where was I found that? Oh, no, it's in the designer's note. Wow, we'll bring it next week. You guys would maybe know about it. The Scandinavian, I've never seen the word before. The Scandinavian governments collectively raised protest of submarine warfare to the German government. And that's it. Wicked. So I'm going to stop this. Was that it? Nope. Boink. So there we go, because we're way off here. Hold on here. The professor wrote that both England and Germany saw each other as either black or white. Both were shades of gray. The professor equated the torpedoing of ships by Germany with the English blockade. Nice one, William Arends. You're darn right. Excuse me. The way they were just so like, I was actually really surprised earlier. I know. Okay, no, we're gonna go to after hours. We're 9 minutes past. We'll leave it on. Leave it for other stuff. Hold on. Let me cue it up. Yeah, I guess we've got some other stuff to deal with later. Hold on here. We'll do it in the app. So yet again, I'm just going to say this. My gosh, this show is going crazy good as far as I'm concerned. The amount of contributions now, it's going, oh my God, we're getting up to maybe, well, not 3 years for the live stream, but 3 years for my channel. And I was thinking earlier this morning, I was like, you know what I would like to do, because it's just been cranking it out. Like I said, I'm only now like just a host doing a percentage of the contributions now. It's freaking awesome. Is I want to do a community contribution love fest, or a thank you note live stream. So I'm trying to figure that how to do about that, looking at this certain interests that everybody seems to have, and like trying to find a little a unique bit for each one of you guys, and see if I can find like bring in something for to make you guys feel obviously like, hey, this person is actually listening and whatnot and whatnot. I want you guys to feel special, for God's sakes. It's your show. Damn right, man. It feels good. At least it does for me. So here we go. So I'm going to go to the playlist so I can do the after hours thing. And so anyways, as I'm about to pop this on and become muted and just turn into a texter, thank you. Yet again, I really, I think these shows are getting somewhat, I know we're going to go have little lower ones. They're not going to be great or what, nothing's perfect, but they've been going well. Like I said, I think we're finding our groove. I hope you guys have a wicked, great weekend, a great remainder of your weekend, and a great week coming up. And let's pop on live stream 107 after hours. And oh my God, you little genius, you little genius, you freaking genius, you little genius. I love it. Oh, wow. I love that. Because actually, on a side note, I've been trying to do, oh, you know what? I'm not kidding. Well, we're practically there today. Hissy Cat, I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, my God, you know what? It's getting like maybe, but I don't want to drive you people nuts. But anyways, here we go. I like it because I'm actually doing, on a side note, Meandering Mike, I'm doing a cross stitch thing, and I'm putting people's usernames for some other thing. But wow, I like that. I really, really do. That is cool. Oh my gosh. You just put me off into creativity land. And on a side note, the other gonna be, don't worry, man. Zoe Dufour, they're gonna have some nice. We'll do something nice. What was I going to say? On a side note, Zoe Dufour, maybe that'll be something when you and I have our little crafternoon. I was thinking about it this morning, actually. I was doing a bit of cross stitch on the great chair. I was like, I'm going to be giving you the great chair, and I'll go sit somewhere else. It's such a good chair to do. Well, anything with, isn't it? Yeah, okay, you're right, Meandering Mike. Until people like it just have, we run out of steam. But as you know, the only thing that's going to run out of steam for me is my bloody voice. Anyways, okay, shush. Harro Bosma, man, it is. This has been just an absolute freaking blast. And I was saying to somebody earlier on in the week, yet again, this has just been one of these good things about my life. This is a positive in my life. It's so engaging. It makes me a better human being as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if it sounds sappy or corny. Tough. Anyways, here we go. I'm going to put in the after hours, and I'm just about to turn myself into what have you. Thanks again, guys. And I'm just, here I go. No more. All right, let's see how this goes. The war summary for February 9th to the 15th, 1917. The capture of Sailly-Salisel Hill by the British is the most important item of the news from the Somme front. With Sailly already in their hands, the British pushed onto the crossroads to the northeast. The capture of Sailly-Salisel giving them access to the height of land east of the Peronne-Bapaume road. The German official report refers to the fighting in this sector as partial engagements, which are still in progress, but the British official dispatch leaves no room for doubt as to the importance of the British advance at this point. The British report states that the British troops advanced yesterday morning against the German position on the Sailly-Salisel Hill. The British gained all they set out to capture, and the spoils included 78 prisoners and a machine gun. The British now occupy the highest point of land in this sector, commanding a wide sweep of country. Following the capture of Grandcourt, reported yesterday, the British Midnight Dispatch states that the advance has been vigorously pushed on both sides of the Ancre, considerable progress being made by General Haig's troops. During the night, the British captured Bessilcourt Farm on the Miramont Road, south of the Ancre, between Grandcourt and the old British front line. Another German trench was carried by assault, the bag in these operations totaling 82 prisoners. Enemy trenches also were raided south of Beauchaverne. Dugouts were bombed and a number of the enemy killed. Prisoners and a machine gun were brought back by the raiding party. In the vicinity of Guidicourt, a German advance was stopped by the British barrage before it had reached its objective. The enemy failed in a similar raid southwest of La Bassée. The big guns were active on both sides in the neighborhood of Armentières and Ypres. The enemy's air service continues to suffer at the hands of the superior British air machines. The advance on the Ancre since the new year represents a gain in territory of nearly 3/4 of a mile in depth along a front of over 3 miles. On the French front in the regions of Danicourt and Léon, lively artillery fighting took place south of the Somme. In the Argonne region, the French surprised the enemy in the Bolan sector, entered the German trenches, and brought back some prisoners. The enemy airplanes were active during the day, bombing French works. On the Belgian front, the Germans, who have been steadily bombarding this sector, entered the Belgian lines. The enemy advanced in force and attacked the Belgian post south of Dixmude. Under a galling fire from the Belgian infantry and machine guns, the German offensive was repulsed, the enemy leaving numerous dead piled up before the Belgian trenches. The strength and insistency of the enemy's advance in this flooded region indicates that the Germans may be feeling their way preparatory to a sustained assault on the Belgian position. On the Vardar, a heavy artillery duel has been proceeding for several days on the Franco-Italian front in the direction of Boia and Monastir. The renewed activity on the enemy in this region and along the whole front is reported from French headquarters at Calendra, about 7 miles southwest of Ceres. Bulgarian reconnaissances were repulsed. The Allied advance posts have occupied Jani and are now before Vesteni. In the United States, the question of preparedness is taking on more definite shape. A dispatch last night from West Point, New York, states that all the available 6-inch guns at that military center were shipped yesterday to New York to be mounted at the forts protecting the city and harbors. Apparently, the German submarine menace is taken seriously by the authorities. No chances will be taken of the possible arrival off the coast of large enemy submarines and raiders. Trouble for the United States may come through Mexico, according to an article that appears today in the Providence Journal, which Diderot has revealed a remarkable knowledge of German secret designs. The journal states that following war with Germany, the first blow at the United States will be struck through Mexico. Over 300 German officers, it is openly alleged, have gone from various American ports and railroad centers to Mexico City during the past 2 weeks. All the arrangements for their dispatch having been directed by Bernstorff, the German ex-ambassador at Washington. Arms and ammunition secretly stored in New York warehouses have also found their way to the Mexican capital. Fewer vessels were sunk by German submarines yesterday, but the total is still sufficiently large to show that the latest submarine plans of the enemy are the most serious yet attempted against Allied and neutral shipping. Among the victims reported yesterday were the British steamers Soyonian, Vedamore, Dauntless, Hollandside, Torino, and Boyne Castle. Others sunk include the Norwegian ship Varing, the French ship Yvonne, and the Russian vessel Bangpus. The total shipping lost yesterday was about 25,000 tons. At this rate, the losses in a month would aggregate about 1 million tons. That the British nation will settle down quietly to solve the submarine problem, as they have solved the Zeppelin menace, there can be little doubt. It is pointed out that while all the world knows of the losses to British shipping, nothing is known of the losses to the German submarines. Of the souls aboard the Anchor Line California, 41 are reported lost, including several Canadians. Among the victims were 6 women and 5 children. In the Carpathians, northeast of Kiribati, the Russians carried the enemy's first-line trenches. Dashing over ground exploded by the defenders and breaking through the gaps in the wire entanglements made by the mines, the Russian troops captured and occupied the trenches. Counterattacks failed to dislodge them. Just going to pause. The route of Said Ahmad's forces in Egypt on the 4th of February brings to a successful end the operations against the Senussi leader. The tribesmen fled when the British attacked them at Gibra, first destroying their tents and ammunition. Pursued by the British, the fleeing enemy was ambushed in the Munasib Pass by another British force that had previously been sent ahead to lie in wait and cut off the retreat. At the head of this main body, Said Ahmad was forced to make a dash for safety southward into a waterless desert. The casualties among the enemy numbered 200 and included several Turkish officers. The enlistment of this powerful Muslim sect on their side was regarded by the Turks and Germans as a powerful blow at British power and prestige in Egypt. With the flight of Said Ahmad, the menace from the Senussi is removed. The British Midnight Official Report records successful raids on enemy trenches east of Vermelles and southeast of Ypres. Bombing parties destroyed a number of the German dugouts and took some prisoners. South of Abmartière, an enemy raiding party was caught in the British barrage and forced to retire. Raiding parties at various points along the British line entered the German trenches and brought back prisoners. Artillery engagements were lively during the day, the British guns causing 2 explosions in the German lines. A British destroyer of an obsolete type was sunk by a mine in the English Channel on Thursday night. And what the hell was it doing in the water? Out of the total complement of 50 men, 5 were saved. All the officers were lost. East of Rennes, the French made a successful raid on the enemy trenches, bringing back prisoners. French batteries shelled the German works on Hill 304 in the Verdun zone and blew up an ammunition depot. Aerial bombing took place over the enemy lines, but no incidents of importance is reported from the French Western Front. The German official report states that activities yesterday were practically confined to the Somme front. Let me have some coffee here. Hold on here. In the Romanian, Italian, and Albanian theaters of war, nothing of importance took place, according to midnight official reports. Comparative calm prevailed in all the theaters of war yesterday. Artillery engagements, raiding parties, and aerial attacks were carried on, but no fighting on a big scale was reported. The uniform success of the British raiding parties, coupled with the steady stream of German prisoners, seems to indicate that German resistance along the Western Front is not stiffening. The world was assured early in the year that every bone and sinew on the German side was being strained for preparations for a spring campaign on a scale never before approached. The same authority declared that the Germans had built a subterranean wall along their entire front that would prove impregnable. The new defenses can scarcely be stronger than those on which the Germans spent 2 years of continuous work, and which proved to be untenable under the destructive fire of the Allied guns. Nothing has yet transpired to indicate a modification of the German system of defense, but even were this true, it is unlikely that the inventive genius of the Allies has been idle during the winter months. German boasts will soon be put to the test. Evidence accumulates that the morale of the enemy has not recovered from the terrible shock of last year's campaign. The persistent aggressiveness of the Allied forces on the Western Front is not calculated to encourage the enemy to look for better results in the campaign that is opening. Hold on, let me pause again. The submarine menace shrunk yesterday to small proportions. 6 vessels totaling 10,000 tons was the day's result, less than half of the tonnage sunk on the previous day. If this shrinkage in losses is maintained, it will bear out the Admiralty's assurance that decreasing losses may be regarded as a proof that the effective steps taken to minimize the danger have proved successful. The fleet of Mosquito cruisers that proved so effective in previous submarine attacks has increased considerably in numerical strength. The next few days will show whether the latest German undersea plans are more successful than the previous efforts to destroy British shipping and cut off British supplies. The submarine scare is still the absorbing topic in Britain. So far from depressing the British people, this latest exhibition of German ruthlessness, with its tale of drowned women and children, is regarded as evidence of entry upon the final stage of the war. A new department, Director of Shipyard Labor, has been established to aid in organizing labor for the acceleration of shipbuilding. Linden McCancy, KC, has been appointed head of the department under the shipping controller, John McClay. A naval fight, and this wicked, I just want to find out if somebody's even gamed this. This is awesome to hear about. A naval fight off Fernando de Noronha, an island 125 miles from the Brazilian coast, is reported from Rio de Janeiro. Flashes as of big naval guns in action were seen from the island and were accompanied by the booming of cannon. The report states that an engagement lasting 4 hours took place yesterday morning. This may mean the rounding up of German commerce raiders by British cruisers, but up to midnight, there was no corroboration of the report. The attitude of the United States continues to engage the attention of the British press. 2 years ago, the Saturday Review points out, Lord Kitchener privately gave expression to the opinion that were the United States to join the Allies, the effect would be to shorten considerably his original estimate that the war would last 3 years. The same journal seems to think that the United States will prove of greatest value in the furnishing of ships, food, and the sinews of war. Meanwhile, the authorities are rushing the work on the New York coast fortifications. 300 men are at work on Rockaway Point defenses, making cement foundations for the big guns. United States Ambassador Gerard will leave Berlin today via Switzerland for Barcelona en route to America, according to official German dispatches. The suggested detention of Ambassador Gerard as a hostage apparently has given way to more prudent consuls in Berlin. The internment of an ambassador would be the last drop in the cup of outlaw Germany or something. Hindenburg's this also, I was like, well, I got to find out about this one. Hindenburg's reported illness appears to be true. He is now an old man on whom the effects of war under bad climatic conditions could not fail to react prejudicially. Oh, forget it. My mouth is just toast. His withdrawal from active service at this critical stage in the war must have a depressing effect in Germany. Although not a great strategist, his reputation resting chiefly upon the labors of his brilliant military advisor, Ludendorff, the name of Hindenburg was at one time a name to conjure with it the German army and nation. In the Somme region, to the north of Beaumont-Hamel, the British carried enemy trenches along a front of over 3/4 of a mile. The captured section is described in the British official report as a strong system of trenches on the southern front of Serre-Hill. The number of German prisoners, 215, exceeded the British casualties. The operations were carried out on Saturday night. On Sunday morning, the enemy counterattacked south of Sailly-Salicelle, but was repulsed by British fire. On Saturday night, the British made successful raids at various points along the line and entered the German trenches, bombing the dugouts and inflicting heavy losses on the enemy. During the day, German positions along the front were heavily bombarded. The capture of the German strong position on Serre-Hill so quickly following the capture of Sailly-Salicelle shows that the moral ascendancy of the British is complete. Really? Okay. In Mesopotamia, I'm just like, what does that got to do with moral? Whatever. Anyways, in Mesopotamia, the British succeeded. That's maybe just the way they saw things back then. And in Mesopotamia, the British succeeded in advancing over half a mile along a front of 3.5 miles. 4 attempts were made on Friday and Saturday by the Turks to regain positions captured by the British, but all the counterattacks were repulsed. The British followed up their success by bombing attacks on the enemy trenches on the left, on which they rapidly extended their hold. Preceded by a heavy bombardment, the British next advanced. This is another thing I got to look up too. British next advanced against the Turkish trenches west of the licorice factory, which Generaltown, and I've seen this a couple of times now. God, it's like, what the heck? Which General Townsend held throughout the siege of Kut. The factory was carried by assault. Just got to even find it on a map would be totally cool. 500 yards of trenches falling into the hands of the British attacking force. On the French Western Front, nothing unusual transpired during Saturday night and Sunday. Numerous aerial battles took place, and French pilots bombed the port of Zeebrugge, the German submarine base, and other works along the line. The French Day report states that the Germans attempted surprise attacks in the Argonne and Lorraine, but were repelled by infantry fire. Hold on, gotta do my thing. East of Gorizia, on Friday night, the Austrians attacked the Italian positions, but were repulsed at nearly every point. The Italians are keeping up a heavy fire on the few positions not yet reoccupied by their troops. The Austrians claim to have taken 650 prisoners in this offensive, together with 10 machine guns. Ooh. North of Stanislav, in Galicia, the Germans penetrated the Russian lines, but were ejected when the Russian reserves counterattacked. The German attacking party consisted of 2 companies wearing white overalls again, so as to avoid detection in the snow. After the Zeppelins, the submarines. The aerial raids have failed. Owing to the efficiency of British defensive methods, the hopes of the German warlords are now centered on the submarine. I think it's also got something to do with the fact that Zeppelins are just not the greatest piece of technology for stuff, man. Like, come on. The Berlin Cruise Zeitung, according to a German dispatch, attributes to the German chancellor the pious hope that the latest submarine campaign will end the war quickly. Yeah, let's see how you do against a bunch of bombers, is what I'm trying to say, like airplane bombers. The Berlin newspaper says that every day badly employed is lost for Germany and gained for England, and adds, we must hasten our action. 5 or 6 months may suffice. May God grant that we do not renew with our submarines our deceptive experiences with Zeppelins. The latest list of torpedoed British and neutral vessels shows a total of 27,000 tons in 2 days. 9 ships were sunk, including 4 neutrals. Unofficial reports from London states that the case of neutral ships is to be reconsidered by the German military and naval authorities at a war conference. British defensive methods apparently are beginning to tell. The toll of German submarines is not published, but there is a confident feeling abroad that the submarine menace is not working out according to the German schedule. Yeah, and the Allies haven't even started the convoy system yet. Oh my gosh. So in other words, your estimates are in deep trouble if they're already going wrong. Another British advance of 600 yards was made last night north of the Ancre near the Beaucourt-Puisieux Road. The British official report describes it as a small enterprise undertaken on a limited front. The fight for Serre Hill continues. The enemy attacked the British position south of the hill last night, but the assault collapsed owing to effective artillery and machine gun fire from the British lines. North of the Somme and in the vicinity of Armentières and Ypres, the British guns searched the enemy positions with marked success. Whoa, what an interesting way of putting it. Searched enemy positions with, I just think like that's wild, which means, you get the idea. The pressure on the enemy is steadily increasing. Superiority in men and guns enables the British to keep it up continuously. The facility with which the British penetrate the enemy's strong positions, on which the Germans have spent so many months of labor, is significant of the changed conditions in this decisive year of the war. I'm sorry if I'm doing it, but it's like, gosh, I want to also have fun with my exploration of the Great War. It just reminds me when the guy said, here the guns search the enemy positions. Remember that passage in The Price of Glory there, Alistair Horn there, when he was talking about the first day of Verdun there, when the Germans were just for 9 hours straight with the artillery. And I guess there was a French guy looking at it from a safe position, and he said it just looked like someone with a garden hose spraying the French front line, the same position every 15 minutes, just going back and forth. With this art, this is like, whoa! It's just the visuals, and that's like artillery shells. It's just mind-boggling. The Italians recaptured the positions penetrated by Austrians in the offensive of last Sunday on the hills east of Gorizia. Serious losses were inflicted upon the Austrians. China has fallen into line with the Allies by breaking off diplomatic relations with Germany. This must be a severe blow to the world ambitions of the Kaiser. It was reported recently that China, Japan, and Russia had entered into an agreement whereby German influence in China was to cease. The diplomatic break with Germany is evidently the prelude to a new triple alliance in the Far East. But they didn't say that they're going to not interfere in China like the other two, just Germany. Sorry. $21 billion is the total war expenditure to date incurred by Great Britain, according to a statement yesterday in the House of Commons by Mr. Bonar. Advances to allies and British dominions amount to nearly $2 billion. The average war expenditure of Britain has increased by $5 million a day. But what is it? That way, I'd like to know. A larger number, that just tells me it's increased. Like, what is it? A large number of the general public than ever before has made application for the new loan, a sign that the spirit of the British people soars high. They have good cause for their elation, for, as Mr. Bonar stated, Britain now has a superiority in men and in equipment. 5 ships were sunk yesterday, including 3 British and 2 Greek, aggregating 8,000 tons. Unless the German submarines do better than this, there's little to fear from their depredations. Whatever the methods employed, the British Admiralty seems to be circumventing the wicked designs of the enemy. On the Canadian front, hard frosts have succeeded the rain and mud. Nothing of exceptional interest took place on this front during the past week, according to a report from the Canadian War Records Office. The Canadian artillery is constantly engaged in cooperation with aerial scouts who direct the fire. That's the way to do it. The enemy's has decreased during the past few days. The Canadians made several raids on the enemy trenches, showing great dash and bravery. In one of these raids, the line was held by Bavarians, who fought well, refusing to surrender. Dugouts and mine shafts were bombed and destroyed, the enemy suffering considerable losses. Mention is made of a lance corporal who distinguished himself during the advance while in charge of a machine gun. The name of the lance corporal is not given. Oh my God, in just a few more months, and it's Vimy. Food conditions in Germany has grown worse during the past 5 months, according to the Associated Press correspondent at Stockholm, who has just returned after a stay of 3 weeks in Berlin. Food is becoming scarcer and dearer. Potatoes, although comparatively cheap owing to government regulation, are insufficient in quantity for those confined to a bread and potato diet. Bread lines before bakers' shops are a daily occurrence owing to the family's system of food distribution. The daily allowance of potatoes has been reduced to 10 ounces, while cheese and eggs have disappeared from the market. The British blockade is doing its work. The weekly allowance of butter and margarine combined is less than 3 ounces per head. The correspondent, when in Berlin, paid $3.12 for 2/3 of a pint of hazelnut oil for cooking purposes. Continual hunger prevails owing to the shortage of fats. The bitterest complaints come from the soldiers home on leave. The well-fed German of pre-war days now sits down to supper and finds there is no meat, no cheese, and no sausage, no butter on 4 days a week, and no beer. It is a new Germany. The people are not starving, but they feel hungry all the time. The Turks are hemmed in at Kut El Amara, says a London official dispatch. The British extended their line across the bend of the Tigris west of the town after destroying the enemy's bridge at Shumran. Fighting has been going on since Saturday. On Sunday, the British advanced along the right bank of the river, driving the Turks back on their last line of trenches at the Dara Bend. By evening, the enemy was hemmed in. If Major General Maud succeeds in rounding up any considerable number of the enemy, the immediate effect must be to restore British prestige in this region, shattered somewhat by the surrender of General Townsend and his little army when the relief expedition failed to reach the beleaguered British garrison. My God, do they ever try to minimize that, eh? Holy smokes, it's amazing. The fight was carried on with extreme violence on both sides. Heavy guns shelled the Turkish positions on Sunday morning preparatory to the infantry attack. A Turkish official dispatch admits the success of the British on the Turkish left wing. Bankrupt in finances and drained of its men, Turkey finds it increasingly difficult to keep going. The British advance in the Sinai and the Tigris and the Russian offensive in the Caucasus, combined with the steady drain upon Turkey's manhood by Germany, must be felt in Constantinople. The submarine menace was referred to in the House of Lords yesterday. Since the beginning of the war, Britain has lost 4 million tons of shipping. Lord Beresford was quick to point out that against this loss must be set 3 million tons of shipping, which have been added to the mercantile list. Better still, while admitting that the danger was serious, he scouted the idea of a panic and assured the country that in 6 weeks' time, the Navy would have the submarines really in hand. Hold on, I just lost my mouse thing. Another point of interest touched on by Lord Beresford was that the Admiralty's success in combating the danger was due to the practical ideas of men fresh from the sea, who had experience of submarine hunting. While refusing to disclose facts that might be useful to the enemy, the Earl of Lytton stated that every device that human ingenuity could devise was being employed against the enemy's submarines. In confident tones, the nation was assured that the essential sea routes would be kept open for the supplies necessary for the armies at the front and the people at home. I think they were doing some hydro stuff. Remember, like the hydrophones, getting all into that stuff now. The measures adopted have proved utmost confidence prevails at the Admiralty as to the future. The most pointed declaration was made by Lord Curzon, who stated that Admiral Jellicoe, who was responsible at the Admiralty for the anti-submarine campaign, was not dissatisfied with the number of German submarines that would never return to German shores. In her twofold task of destroying the enemy submarines and replacing the mercantile tonnage lost, Britain is succeeding beyond all expectation. The problem that confronts her is to sink the enemy craft faster than they can be built, and to build merchant vessels faster than they can be sunk. Hold on, I just screwed it up there. Where am I here? I'm way off, aren't I? Yep, there we are. Oh my gosh. On the French front, nothing of note took place. Lively artillery actions resulting in considerable damage to enemy organizations and a successful raid into German trenches northeast of Rennes are the only incidents recorded in the night report. On the British front, raiding of the enemy trenches continued at various points. Repeated attacks were made by the Germans on the British position south of Sèvres Hill, but the British held their trenches, raking the attackers with a murderous fire. East of Souchez, the British penetrated several hundred yards into the enemy's lines and did considerable damage to his organization. The enemy made a stubborn resistance, but the British raiders succeeded in destroying 4 mine shafts, a trench railhead, and several dugouts. In this lively bout, 47 German prisoners were brought back to the British lines. The casualties on the British side were light. Similar raids were made near Neuville-Saint-Vaast, Luce, and Ypres. Along the remainder of the front, heavy bombardments took place. In the Balkans, the return of favorable weather conditions has brought about a renewal of activities. Raids and artillery duels heralded the opening up of the spring campaign. Between the Cerna and Lake Presba, artillery fires growing in intensity. Paris reports repulsed by Italians of attempted German surprise attacks in this region. On the Sereth, the Germans claim the successful resumption of their offensive, but no confirmation is forthcoming from Allied sources. In the United States, war preparations continue. A conference of railway and industrial leaders with members of the cabinet took place for mobilization, with the object of perfecting arrangements for, I'm jumping the gun here, for the mobilization of transport and industrial resources in case of need. I'm just happy. It means my mind is working. The president has taken up a firm attitude in reply to Germany's approaches and insists upon the withdrawal of the submarine menace before he enters upon further negotiations. 4 ships were sunk yesterday, involving a loss of about 14,000 tons of shipping. Among the vessels sunk was the White Star liner Afrique of 11,999 tons. 5 on board were killed by the torpedo explosion and 17 are missing. British naval gunners aboard the Oxonian opened fire on a German submarine, which, without warning, launched a torpedo against the steamer. According to the report, the second shot hit the submarine squarely in the middle and crumpled her up. The torpedo passed close to the vessel's stern without striking. The United States threatens to break with Turkey. Wow, and that's how I had to remind myself too. Yeah, they haven't broken off, I don't think, with Austria-Hungary as well. With Turkey over the unsatisfactory attitude of the Ottoman government regarding relief for Armenians and Syrians. 2 American relief ships are lying at Alexandria, unable to discharge their cargoes owing to the failure of Washington to obtain any assurance from Constantinople that the food and clothing will reach the proper destination. And you're not going to get it, I doubt very much. The British captured a strong position southeast of Grandcourt and took some prisoners. The position taken is rising ground covering the Courcelette-Miramont road northeast of Arras. Yesterday at dawn, the British penetrated to the German third line of trenches, a distance of 250 yards. During the raid, 2 machine gun emplacements and a number of dugouts were destroyed. Many of the defenders hiding in the dugouts were killed by the bombers. 40 prisoners and a machine gun were brought back to the British lines. On the Somme, heavy loss to the enemy. On the Somme and northeast of Ypres, raids were carried out with heavy loss to the enemy. East of Armentières and south of Messines, the Germans raided the British lines but were repulsed. 3 enemy ammunition dumps were exploded by British shells. Sir Douglas Haig is confident that this is the decisive year, but whether it will be the year of peace also, he would not prophesy, but when interviewed by French correspondents. It's an interesting way of putting it, because it could be a decisive year. I don't know yet. Another discussion point, I guess. Railways and heavy guns have been his greatest need, and work on these is being rapidly pushed forward. The British commander has no doubts as to his ability to smash through at many points when the supreme moment comes. The total destruction of the German army is his final goal. With this purpose in view, the next British drive will not be launched until the resources at his command enable Haig to overwhelm the enemy. Meanwhile, the British troops are getting inured to danger and becoming familiar with the ground by constant raids on enemy trenches. Heavy fighting on the Romanian front is reported in both Russian and German dispatches. On both sides of the Iocobeni-Kipalung Road on the Bukovina-Romanian border, a fierce engagement has been raging since Monday, when the Austro-Germans with strong forces attacked the Russian positions on the neighboring heights. The enemy carried one of the heights by assault on Monday, lost it on Monday night when the Russians counterattacked, and finally regained it, another height, on Tuesday by rushing up reinforcements. The Russians admit a retirement in this sector of over 2 miles, where they consolidated their defensive on a hill about a mile east of Iocobeni. On the rest of the front, there are signs of renewed activity. The Germans claim to have captured 1,200 Russians in the fight for the Iocobeni Heights, in addition to 3 guns and 12 machine guns. Hold on, let's take a sip. A very cold coffee. Ooh, but better than nothing. On the French front, surprise attacks, intermittent artillery duels, and aerial engagements are the only breaks in the calm that still pervades this section of the Western Zone. North of Fleury, the French batteries wrought havoc on the enemy's organizations. East of Rheims, the enemy was raided in the Crosnay sector. Dunkirk and Nancy were shelled by German aviators. Several civilians were killed in Dunkirk. The French airmen bombed the aviation grounds at Etrelier and Rancourt and several railway stations and munition factories. Thank God it's the last page, because if there's any more pronunciation stuff with I'm just toast. On the Belgian front, the artillery is in full blast. The enemy continues to keep the Belgians occupied with night attacks. Last night, the Germans attacked the line east of Percé, but were driven off. British coal mines have been taken over by the Board of Trade for the duration of the war. A new department will be created with Guy Caltrop, general manager of the London and Northwestern Railway, as controller. The constant friction between mine owners and workers had reached a point where intervention became imperative. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm just being a whatever. I'm just thinking, no, you just want to make sure the coal's going. The safety of the empire and victory. No. The victory in this war depend in the last resort on the British miners, who keep the Grand Fleet, transport services, and munition factories supplied with fuel. Yeah, I don't blame them, for goodness sakes. The submarine, here we go. Submarine campaign has no effect upon British communications with the Allied armies. It is reported that the type of submarine now in use by Germany is not so efficient as the previous undersea boats, either in the offensive strength of the craft or in the experience of the crews. That's important, actually. Good one. Good call, man. I remember that in On a Knife Edge. Holger Offlebach was mentioning that as well. 7 ships were sunk yesterday, including 1 American vessel. The losses amounted to about 10,000 tons. The safe arrival at Liverpool of the giant liners Adriatic and Carmania and of other large British vessels proves that German threats to drive British shipping off the high seas is far from being accomplished. By standardizing mercantile shipping, the British shipyards have been able to turn out vessels quickly and so replace a large percentage of the boats sunk. And that's it. I hope you have a good remainder of your weekend. Great week, and I hope that went well. And I hope to gosh, I see you next week. All right, see you later. And I got to hit the end recording. Yep.